feel like I'm odd. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a nice feeling to have people always complimenting you.
Right.
But sometimes it gets strange only because they treat you like you're not human.
Kristy McNichol was once one of the brightest young stars dazzling Hollywood with rare talent and a natural charm that captivated millions. Yet, at the height of her success, when fame and fortune seemed guaranteed, she disappeared from the spotlight without a word.
They try, if you're in a series, to keep you as young as possible so the series can continue for a longer time. But TV and movies let you grow up.
What drives a young actress with awards and adoration to walk away from everything so suddenly? Now, at 63, Kristy finally unveils the real reason she left the glamorous world of Hollywood. And it's a story that challenges everything we thought we knew about stardom, pressure, and personal survival. The breaking point. At the pinnacle of her career, Kristy McNichol was a shining star with accolades, fans, and a promising future. Yet beneath the dazzling surface, a silent struggle was taking root, one that would soon fracture the life she had built. The pressures of constant visibility and relentless work began to weigh heavily on her young shoulders, eroding the joy she once found in acting. What appeared as effortless success from the outside hid a growing emotional exhaustion few could see. Her day-to-day existence became a sequence of non-stop obligations, rehearsals, appearances, and performances that left no room to breathe. She showed up prepared and professional, but inside, the weight of expectation was relentless. Early on, Kristy equated approval with survival, shaping her entire identity around pleasing others and keeping the fragile facade intact. This pattern made it difficult to pause, reflect, or ask for help, even as the strain mounted. Small cracks started showing, rebellious pranks, impulsive acts, moments that signaled an inner unrest. These gestures were silent cries for a childhood she never fully experienced. While fans admired her maturity and professionalism, Kristy privately mourned a lost innocence and the life that had been overtaken by a demanding schedule. The emotional toll was quietly accumulating beneath the public applause. Public criticism in the early 1980s further chipped away at her spirit. A performance that was meant to be lighthearted instead earned unflattering reviews, starkly contrasting her earlier praise. For someone reliant on positive feedback, the blow stung deeply and amplified the pressure she already carried. It was a harsh reminder that even brilliance could be met with scrutiny and doubt. While filming overseas, far from familiar support, the pressure finally overwhelmed her. Exhausted and isolated, Kristy suffered a severe emotional collapse. Sleep became elusive, disturbing dreams haunted her nights, and on some days, tears surfaced uncontrollably. The carefully maintained image of professional composure could no longer mask the turmoil within. By the time the holiday break arrived, Kristy was unable to return to work, and production was halted for nearly a year. The decision to step back was not a surrender, but a necessary retreat to focus on healing. Looking back, she acknowledged that years of relentless pace, high expectations, and masking her true self had culminated in this breaking point. This moment was pivotal, marking a shift from unyielding ambition to the urgent need for self-care. It suggested that beneath the glittering exterior, a young woman was fighting battles few recognized and many misunderstood. The breakdown was not sudden, but the inevitable result of carrying too much for too long. The pressures of Hollywood had taken their toll, but Kristy's journey toward recovery and self-awareness was only beginning. It was a painful awakening to the cost of fame and the need to reclaim her own life. This turning point foreshadowed a quieter, more deliberate path ahead, one defined not just by career, but by survival. This hidden struggle behind the scenes would soon redefine her relationship with the industry and herself, setting the stage for a new chapter far from the spotlight's glare. And behind every bright smile and award lies a story of unseen battles and quiet resolve. Early life and accidental stardom. Kristy McNichol's path to fame was far from conventional or planned. Born on September 11, 1962, she didn't arrive in Hollywood wrapped in privilege or expectation. Instead, she drifted into the industry almost by accident, largely shaped by her mother's determination rather than dreams of stardom. Carolyn McNichol worked tirelessly wherever she could, secretarial work, selling cosmetics, even taking small background roles just to keep the family afloat. One day, with no babysitter available, Carolyn brought Kristy and her older brother Jimmy along to a modest film set where she was working. While Jimmy may have been captivated by the chaos and costumes, Kristy was overwhelmed and hesitant, observing quietly from a distance. Yet, fate intervened when a crew member noticed the children and casually suggested they might be ideal for commercials. That offhand remark opened a door nobody had anticipated. Auditions soon followed, and both siblings began landing parts, but it was Kristy who quickly distinguished herself. Unlike many child actors who simply memorized lines, Kristy brought an emotional depth that belied her age. At just 14, she won the role of Buddy on the acclaimed series Family, a performance that would define her public identity and change her life overnight. Kristy's upbringing was the opposite of normal. In front of the lens, she not only took care of her family but also did the housework, organized, and was concerned about family security. The role reversal was like a heavy burden on her little shoulders, and it never really went away. She was very serious about her acting and considered it a job rather than a play. She was ready with a maturity and concentration that were not very common at that age. The way she presented herself was very much in line with this maturity. The viewers picked up the honesty and the emotional intensity in her acting and felt that there was something very rare and real. But while other children were looking for who they are, Kristy was being watched, judged, and defined by others, her personal development being closely linked to public expectations. Her unintentional climb to stardom brought along with it the cost that her friends would rarely have to pay. The pressure of early fame forced her to surrender a large part of her childhood, but she learned quickly that success was winning sacrifice. However, her gift and hard work made her a darling of the audience, a person whom millions welcomed into their living rooms through their televisions. Her start is a reminder that life can sometimes change its course in the most unexpected ways, and that such changes are often accompanied by the unseen burdens of dazzling opportunities. Kristy's case was not just a matter of chance or skill, but of a struggle for survival that was determined by the circumstances and the sacrifices made. This stage of her life set the groundwork for everything that was to come: the victories, the difficulties, and finally, the hard choices that lay ahead. A career born in quiet necessity grew into a dazzling presence that few could ignore. Meteoric rise to fame. By the late 1970s, Kristy McNichol was no longer simply a promising young actress. She had become one of television's most recognizable and respected faces. Her role on Family earned her widespread praise and substantial acclaim, culminating in a major industry milestone when she received an Emmy nomination in 1980. This nod confirmed what audiences had already sensed: she was a rare talent with exceptional emotional depth. Kristy's career extended beyond acting into music, showcasing her versatility and willingness to explore new creative outlets. In 1977, she appeared in a festive television special alongside the Carpenters, performing musical numbers and sharing the stage with the iconic duo. The following year, she and her brother Jimmy recorded an album together for a major label, stepping into the pop world during a teen idol era. The project saw moderate success and was celebrated with a glamorous New York promotional event, bringing the siblings face-to-face with celebrities under the city's bright lights. Television appearances quickly followed in rapid succession, turning Kristy into a familiar presence on talk shows and celebrity competitions. Her face was ubiquitous, and her work ethic relentless. She was in constant demand, her schedule hardly slowing down as she balanced acting roles and music endeavors. One of Kristy's most haunting performances came in 1978 with the acclaimed television film Summer of My German Soldier. The role showcased her ability to carry profound emotional weight at a young age, further cementing her reputation as a formidable actress. However, the transition to film presented challenges. An early film appearance was cut from the final product, a somber reminder of Hollywood's unforgiving nature. Still, Kristy soon landed a significant role opposite major stars in a dark comedic feature, reinforcing her standing as a rising force in both television and film. Across award nominations, music stages, and movie sets, her teenage years unfolded rapidly, marked by applause, expectation, and a growing awareness that her youth was being lived in the relentless glare of the spotlight. By the time Family concluded in 1980, Kristy had carried the series through nearly 100 episodes and earned a reputation as one of TV's most poised young stars. Yet beyond the cameras, she was 18 and utterly exhausted. Her ascent had been meteoric, but the cost was steep. That same year, she immediately took on the lead role in Little Darlings, a film destined to become a defining moment for a generation. The movie drained what little energy remained, signaling the toll her non-stop career was taking. Despite the fatigue, Kristy rarely declined work, not out of ambition, but because she had learned only to comply. Her rapid rise and packed schedule created an impossible pace, setting the stage for the personal struggles that would soon demand her attention. Behind the scenes of triumph was a young woman on the brink of important decisions about her life and well-being. Fame had arrived fast and dazzling, but at a price that few could see until it was nearly too late. The cost of childhood fame. As Kristy McNichol's star burned brighter, the cost of her early success began to show in ways the public rarely saw. Behind the applause and accolades, the relentless pace of work left little time for a normal childhood. While her peers were discovering the world around them, Kristy was engulfed by scripts, sets, and public scrutiny. The innocence typically reserved for youth was quietly slipping away, replaced by responsibilities far beyond her years. Her life became a cycle of constant motion, with barely a moment to herself. She rarely declined roles, not because of ambition, but because she never learned how to say no. Pleasing others, especially her mother, became second nature, and decisions about her life were made swiftly and without input. This pattern fostered a loss of control that deepened her sense of exhaustion. The pressures extended beyond work. The spotlight exposed her to constant evaluation, and the line between Kristy the person and Kristy the public figure blurred. Each new role carried expectations to perform perfectly, to be mature, and to hide any signs of vulnerability. This forced emotional armor was draining and isolating. The continuous speed of the activities fostered rebellion moments when the people could not conceal their acts, however little, and were even trying to recover a lost identity. Pranks and spontaneity were the indicators of the inner conflicts that were going on in her while she looked so calm and composed outside. These signs of discontent showed a girl who was internally wanting to find the lost childhood she never had. Even though they were not very frequent, public outbursts and nasty criticisms hurt a lot. Kristy Shelley was hit by the rejection in 1982 when a nice performance turned into a farce for the audience who disapproved it. And this incident was a heavy weight to someone who was looking for acknowledgement and automatically linked her worth to it. The difference between public praises and harsh judgments amplified the internal struggle Kristy was going through. Kristy was forced to make career decisions that resembled a tightrope walking stunt, where one side was her public image and the other personal pain. The situation made the artist no longer think of the new horizons of artistic growth and pure enjoyment, but rather come to terms with being alive and enduring. The price of being a childhood star was not only losing purity, but also the slow slaying of her spirit. However, despite this difficult ordeal, Kristy was still extremely dedicated to her profession. The power and sincerity of her performances were retained, although the pressures were threatening to engulf her. This toughness made her story more enthralling, a young woman confronting incredible challenges with bravery and elegance. Gradually, it was acknowledged that the cost of early fame was much more than the realization of the bulk of the public. The people's gifting covered up the private sacrifices and unnoticed wounds she bore. Her lesson is a very telling one, that a lost childhood cannot be retrieved, whatever the brightness of the spotlight is. This truth subtly prepared the ground for the hardest times that were to come in her life. Thus, the need for healing that was deeper than the glitz was more and more emphasized. The personal toll of a childhood lived in the spotlight became impossible to ignore as her inner world quietly fractured. Health struggles and breakdown. The pressures of relentless work and personal sacrifice culminated in a profound emotional breakdown in 1982. While filming a comedy drama far from home, isolated and exhausted, Kristy reached a breaking point. Sleep evaded her as disturbing dreams and overwhelming sadness took hold. Tears occasionally spilled during work, breaking through the professional veneer she had fought so hard to maintain. Her mental health struggles could no longer be hidden behind the camera's lens. What had once been silent battles became undeniable realities that forced a pause on her flourishing career. The production she was part of was halted for nearly a year while she focused on recovery. This retreat was not a defeat, but a vital step toward survival and healing. In later years, Kristy reflected on how this breakdown was the inevitable outcome of years spent carrying too much, too long. The non-stop pace, the weight of expectations, and the need to carefully craft public appearances all converged to wear down her spirit. Compounding this was the fear of revealing her true self at a time when openness felt impossible. Though her illness was not fully understood by the public then, it became clear it was linked to what is now recognized as bipolar disorder. This diagnosis helped shed light on the intensity of her emotions and the swings she battled privately. Receiving this diagnosis was a turning point, giving her language to describe the challenges that had haunted her. After her recovery, Kristy cautiously returned to acting, but with a newfound selectivity. Roles were chosen with her health in mind, and the desire for balance began to outweigh the hunger for fame. Her career shifted from meteoric rises to thoughtful endurance and self-preservation. Throughout the mid-1980s, she took roles that reflected a more measured approach to her craft. Notable projects included a television film about American nurses held captive in World War II, where restraint and emotional gravity were central. These parts allowed her to express depth while maintaining personal boundaries. At this point, Kristy's life was evolving into a search for equilibrium. Success was no longer defined solely by public acclaim, but by her ability to sustain herself physically and emotionally. The focus moved toward managing her health and adjusting to life beyond relentless demands. Her battle with bipolar disorder set the stage for vital decisions about her future in the industry. Ultimately, choosing health over career became the defining and most courageous act of her life. Recovery was not a single moment but a journey, marked by acceptance, resilience, and the slow reclaiming of peace lost to years of relentless strain. Life after Hollywood. After years of intense pressure and relentless demands, Kristy McNichol began to slowly retreat from the spotlight, seeking a life that prioritized her health and well-being. The mid-1980s marked a turning point as she moved toward more selective roles, choosing projects that allowed her to maintain balance rather than chase fame. Her work during this period reflected a desire to engage with her craft without sacrificing her personal recovery. Far from the fast-paced environments of her youth, Kristy embraced a gentler rhythm. One of her notable appearances was on the warmly received sitcom Empty Nest, a spin-off of The Golden Girls. Playing Barbara Weston, Kristy returned to American living rooms in a role that demanded a steadier pace and provided a welcome stability. The series enjoyed a long run, allowing her to reconnect with audiences in a different way, still visible, but without the crushing demands of her earlier stardom. This role offered a gentler chapter in an otherwise intense career. Despite the slower pace, challenges remained. Midway through Empty Nest's 5th season, Kristy faced a decision that many hoped she would never have to make. She stepped away after receiving her bipolar disorder diagnosis, again prioritizing her health over her career. This choice underscored her growing understanding that survival and peace were far more important than continuing under overwhelming pressure. The fans and the co-workers felt her absence strongly, yet the audience's expectations were surpassed by Kristy's thirst for healing. During the series finale of 1995, she returned for a short time after years, a warm farewell to a completely new world she had once been so attached to. This soft goodbye was the termination of her acting era and the start of a new era that was entirely hers, defined by herself. Quitting acting did not imply that she completely avoided creative involvement. In the late 1990s, Kristy was a voice actor for a cartoon series. This gave her an opportunity to create in silence and be free from public attention. This less prominent role was indicative of a change in direction towards the kind of activities that are spiritually uplifting rather than draining. Her slow withdrawal was accompanied by introspection and a vow to safeguard the real person behind the acting masks. The steps she took in her career were deliberate moves towards preserving herself rather than chasing the limelight. The process of self-discovery and affirmation was difficult, but also a must for losing the life that came with Hollywood's ever-present and demanding spotlight. The transformation from a hard-working addict to a person who only wanted to enjoy the serenity and equilibrium in life was witnessed by her friends and other people close to her. Her story was that of a difficult but crucial healing process after years with other people's demands. It was not a defeat story, but rather one of bravery and dignity. During this period of transition, Kristy gradually and softly changed her definition of success, from being recognized through awards and taking part to being healthy and happy. She started to appreciate silent moments that, in the past, had been overrun by fame, and she found comfort in living a simple and genuine life. Such a calm way of living prepared the soil for even more profound personal discoveries, acts of courage and honesty that not many people were expecting, but now most definitely acknowledge. Healing from the past allowed Kristy to embrace truths that once felt impossible to share openly. Coming out and personal truth. In 2012, Kristy McNichol made a decision that surprised some but deeply resonated with many. She publicly came out as a lesbian. This revelation was not aimed at drawing attention or publicity, but born from a place of compassion and courage. For someone who had carried private struggles for decades amid a culture of silence, revealing her authentic self was both liberating and transformative. Kristy acknowledged that her announcement was as much for young people who might feel isolated or judged as it was for herself. She hoped her honesty would offer comfort and a sense of belonging to those who feared rejection for simply being who they are. In an industry known for shrouding such identities in secrecy, her openness represented a quiet act of bravery long overdue. Her personal life had been marked by deep love and commitment, particularly with her partner, Marty Allen, whom she had been with for over 20 years by the time of her coming out. This long-standing relationship anchored her journey and provided stability amid the upheavals of her public and private life. Their partnership became a testament to the power of love and resilience beyond Hollywood's spotlight. Kristy also endured heartbreak along the way. A previous relationship with actress Elizabeth Brooks ended tragically when Brooks died of brain cancer in 1997. This loss profoundly affected Kristy, deepening her resolve to step away from the spotlight and focus on healing. It was a reminder of life's fragility and the importance of nurturing one's well-being. Despite stepping back from on-screen roles, Kristy's creativity and spirit never faded. She rediscovered joy through music, enrolling in a music program at Los Angeles Valley College and immersing herself in choir and artistic expression. This second act was less about fame and more about fulfillment, offering a gentle space for renewal. Her engagement with music wasn't only personal, but also philanthropic. Through involvement with the college's foundation, Kristy contributed quietly to the arts community that had helped rekindle her voice. This gave her purpose and connection beyond her earlier career identity. Reflecting on this period, Kristy spoke about the peace she found in finally living honestly and lovingly, free from the masks she once felt compelled to wear. She embraced a life shaped by authenticity rather than performance, healing rather than applause. This commitment to truth became a cornerstone of her later years. She shared how simple joys, travel, quiet mornings, and time with Marty now defined her days. Hawaii, in particular, held a special place in her heart, a sanctuary far from Hollywood's frantic pace. Her happiness was no longer tethered to scripts or spotlights, but blossomed from listening within and honoring what truly fulfilled her. Kristy McNichol's story, once shadowed by silence and struggle, ultimately became one of courage, resilience, and self-acceptance. A powerful reminder that the greatest triumph lies in living one's truth. A life lived honestly is the most enduring legacy anyone can leave behind. New beginnings and peace. After stepping away from the demands of Hollywood, Kristy McNichol found a life defined not by scripts and spotlights, but by stillness and fulfillment. Years of relentless schedules and public scrutiny gave way to quiet days filled with music, travel, and personal reflection. This shift allowed her to cultivate peace in ways the entertainment world never could offer. She embraced a pace that honored self-care and emotional well-being above all else, creating space for healing and joy. Music became a gentle second act for Kristy. Immersing herself in choir and music studies at Los Angeles Valley College, she rekindled her passion for creative expression without the pressures of fame. This fresh chapter centered on learning, connection, and rediscovering her own voice. The art offered a sense of fulfillment that was far removed from her earlier career's applause-driven successes. Her involvement extended beyond personal enjoyment. Kristy quietly gave back through the college's foundation, supporting the arts and fostering opportunities for others. This engagement brought renewed purpose and a meaningful way to stay connected with a community that nurtured her spirit. It was a humble yet powerful shift from celebrity to advocate and artist. Home for Kristy transformed into a sanctuary of calm and contentment. She found joy in simple pleasures, peaceful mornings, cherished time with her longtime partner, Marty Allen, and travel that broadened her horizons. One place in particular, Hawaii, became a beloved retreat. The island's rhythm and sense of escape symbolized the distance she had traveled from Hollywood's frantic pace. The process of living authentically lifted the burden off Kristy and gave her a different life. No more public expectations to be met or a carefully fashioned image to be shown. Rather, she paid attention to her inner self and gave all that made her heart and soul happy. It was a new kind of happiness that was mainly characterized as quiet, steady, and deeply her own that came about through this profound listening. Kristy was also engaged in active volunteering, and this gave her a sense of purpose, as she was giving time to the causes and communities that were dear to her. This, in turn, made her life richer and gave her the connection that was beyond personal healing. It highlighted the broader journey of moving from survival to service, a legacy of compassion that has its roots in struggle. Though she was officially retired in 2001, Kristy kept the doors open, though slightly on acting. The moment she was questioned regarding her return, her reply was deep and methodical. A gentle "never say never," said not out of desire, but rather from calmness. This mindset was actually letting her live her life confidently now and also accepting the paths that led her to the past. Her story is not for a great comeback, but for something very hard to find. A life characterized by honesty, love, and living on one's own terms. The redefinition of success by Kristy McNichol, as she did, by retreating from the limelight, was to strictly reclaim her own narrative, thus making it possible for others to follow her path as well. At the end of the day, her way is the one that shows very much the courage that she had, peace over performance and authenticity over applause. In the midst of a society that is very much obsessed with fame, Kristy's soft transformation carries a strong message. The real happiness is often found in the living and being the person you are. That is, beyond the glitz, not in the glitz. To lead a life that is peaceable and quiet, one must begin by turning inward and listening honestly to what the soul requires. This kind of life is not built through external validation, comparison, or relentless achievement, but through clarity, boundaries, and self-acceptance. It asks for courage. The courage to slow down in a world that celebrates speed, to choose simplicity in a culture driven by excess, and to honor personal truth even when it diverges from expectation. Inner peace grows when one gives themselves permission to define success on their own terms, free from applause or approval. Living fully from the inside means recognizing that fulfillment is deeply personal. It may be found in creative expression, meaningful relationships, service to others, or moments of quiet presence. It involves caring for emotional and mental well-being with the same seriousness once reserved for outward accomplishments. When inner alignment is achieved, life begins to feel lighter and more intentional, guided not by obligation, but by authenticity. Kristy McNichol's story reminds us that the cost of fame is often hidden, and choosing health and authenticity is the greatest triumph of all. Her journey from bright star to peaceful creator shows the power of self-care and courage. If you found her story inspiring, please like this video and subscribe for more true Hollywood stories and insights.